Welcome to Golden Nuggets, where you hear bite-sized truths in moments of need. And today is a topic that I know will resonate with you, and that is the imposter syndrome. That feeling, that emotion, that headspace where people feel like they are a fake and a phony. And this is something that affects so many people. And it has no limitations to whether you are wealthy, whether you are rich, whether you are strong, whether you're successful. There's many people who battle with this area of imposter syndrome. So let's look at this. So what is imposter syndrome? Well, first of all, it is those nagging doubts that somehow you haven't earned the right to be in the place and the position that we are in. And it is this really kind of negative and oppressive barrage of intruding thoughts that constantly eat away at your confidence and your self-esteem and your belief in yourself. And these thoughts, they're constantly coming. It's like a continuous onslaught. And it's really important that we be aware of this and that we challenge those thoughts. And we challenge those thoughts by the evidence of our past, where we can recognize and see the successes that we have done, where we can see the accomplishments that we have made, and that we turn those nagging doubts into into thoughts of what you can do, your ability, and, seeing yourself from a positive mindset. Because as I always say, where the mind goes, the energy flows. And so it's so important that rather than looking at doubts, look at our successes, look at our accomplishments, look at our ability and our potential. Because those nagging doubts can really create a negative energy in space that zap us of all our energy. Another thing about imposter syndrome is that it is the inability to see human frailty in others while over-examining the faults that we have within ourselves. And so what happens is when we look in the mirror, when we're looking at ourselves, we are so advanced, we have a PhD in fault finding for ourselves. But we have a lack of ability to see that everyone else is in the same position. Everyone else has faults. No one is perfect. And that's what imposter syndrome does. It helps you, or it causes you to not be able to see the problems, the doubts, the worries, the failures that happen in other people. And it tricks you into believing it's only you, that there's no one else who's going through this problem, that there's no one else that struggles, that there's no one else that is on the journey of learning and discovery. But when you're looking at yourself, you become self-critical. There is no self-compassion. Always looking at yourself from a vantage point of lack, of need. And this can be so destroying to your peace, to your mindsets, to your health, and to your ability to move forward in life. The third thing about imposter syndrome is that it's the denial and assertive, consistent rejection of your own talents and abilities that you possess. And this is very counterproductive, because denial stands for don't even know I am lying. Imposter syndrome gets you into a place where you don't even know you are lying to yourself about the things it's telling you, and that it causes you to have an assertive and consistent rejection of your own talents and abilities. And so you tell yourself, anyone could do this. I'm nothing special. It was luck that got me here. I don't deserve to be there. When you applied for that job as everyone else and they chose you over everyone else because they saw something in you. Or you got a promotion because previously you have shown character, values, and dedication and commitment. And that is why you got that promotion. But you just reject all of that. Or you got your PhD or your master's or whatever that qualification is, but somehow you just whimmed it. And somehow you was able to trick the people that marked and tested your work. And so it's just this constant rejection. Or if someone praises you because of something in your character that they admire, and you downplay it because you are in this constant denial and have a rejection of anything that actually shows that you are worth it, that you are special, that you do have potential, that you are gifted, that you do manifest your greatness. And that's what imposter syndrome is all about. Keeping you stuck, keeping you negative, keeping you focusing on what you can't do. And anything that you did and did well, it flips it around to make it look like you just did that by luck and chance. And so it's really important that we capture this enemy to all success, joy, and happiness in your life. And we crush it every time it raises its ugly head. And so with imposter syndrome, it is all about the narrative that we tell ourselves. You see, the African proverb says, when the enemy within is conquered, the enemy without can do us no harm. And this is so true with imposter syndrome. Until we deal with this enemy within that speaks to us and tells us and corrupts us and downgrades us, until we deal with that enemy within, everything without will be a reinforcement of what it's telling us. Because so someone thinkers, so they are. We don't see life as it is, we see life as we are, from the frame of reference that we are looking at things. And this is why it's so important that we deal with the imposter syndrome. So let me show you what I mean. So when we are in that state of these nagging thoughts, those intruding thoughts, our brain listens to that. Our brain listens to our self-talk. It eavesdrops on it, and it takes whatever we are saying and thinking to be the truth. And so if we are constantly thinking on these things, speaking on these things, declaring those negative things over our life, the brain then starts to make that become a reality in how it sees things. And so what happens is we see other people's skills, knowledge, and experience as this gigantic thing, as being this perfect circle full of life and color and beauty. And then when we focus on ourselves, our knowledge and skills, it's like this small, little, decrepit baby. And so you magnify everyone else and you minimize yourself. You think that everyone else is on top of everything and got everything together and knows everything while you are struggling every day. And the reality is everyone has strengths and weakness. You have strengths and weaknesses, and so does everyone else. And yes, granted, there will be some things that they do better than you, but there's also going to be some things you do better than them. And it's okay. It's okay. But what we do need to do is acknowledge that there is no one special out there. And the other thing that we have to acknowledge is that what imposter syndrome will do is it will cause you to bypass the fact that you may be looking at someone at chapter 25 in their life when you're at chapter 5. Someone may have been doing something for 10 years more and longer than you, and you're just starting out and you're trying to compare yourself to them. So it's important to be able to capture when the imposter syndrome starts to drop its poisonous venom into your mind. And it's important to acknowledge and recognize that everyone has strengths and weaknesses. Everyone, even the people that you look up to. If you was to ask them, do they struggle in any area? Where's their weaknesses? They would tell you and you would see it and hear it for yourself. So it's important to not minimize yourself, to not downgrade yourself, to not put yourself down, and to stop getting in your own way and tripping yourself up by your negative thinking. And so this leads me on to the perfect point, because we need to understand the conspiracy. And what is a conspiracy? A conspiracy is a story with limited data points where we fill in the missing data with fear, false evidence appearing real. And this is the trap that the imposter syndrome does do. It causes us to have limited data points where we are only looking at the information from what we know, i.e. what's going on in us, because we don't know what's going on in anyone else. And we fill in all the missing data points with fear. They can do it, I can't. They know everything and I don't. They're confident and they've got it all together while I'm struggling and I'm a phony. And that's not the case. And so we create the conspiracies about our situations all the time, and we feed the beast of imposter syndrome. We give it power. We boost it. We magnify it. We give it the strength. And you and only you have the potential to feed the beast or starve it. And so I want to encourage you to begin to starve it. And how do you starve it? By acknowledging your strengths, by speaking positive things about yourself, by declaring affirmations over your life, by visualizing your success and your potential and the goals that you are going to achieve. Because the brain, although one of the greatest things ever created, is limited to one thing. And that fact is that we only have the capacity to think on one thing at a time. And so if you're thinking on your strengths and your goals and what you can do, you do not have the capacity to then be thinking and feeding the beast of imposter syndrome. Because imposter syndrome creates a crisis in confidence. It is like an internal, consistent migraine. And I really want you to be freed and delivered from this internal affliction. Because when you are listening to and being governed and directed by imposter syndrome, you are never going to be able to see yourself, believe in yourself, and trust in yourself the way that you should. Because when we have a lack of confidence, that creates a lack in commitment. because what we are confident in, we commit to. And this can cause people to miss out on job opportunities, on relationships, on in so many areas of your life. Because you're second guessing yourself, because you're doubting yourself, because you're minimizing yourself. You don't go forward and do the things that you were destined and created to do. And so I want you to be free today. I want you to let go of the chains and the prison sentence that you've been holding yourself captive to by listening to the lies of the imposter syndrome that is lurking in the inner chambers of your mind. So, one thing that we have to learn to do is identify your attacker. You know, whenever a victim, has gone through an experience, whether they've been robbed or something like that, and the police have captured a few people and they put them in a lineup, isn't it? And they do that so that the person can identify. If they can identify that attacker, then they know that person is the one that did it. Well, you need to be able to identify your attackers. And so I'm putting them up before you today. And these are the ones that work in conjunction to keep you bound, to keep you down, to keep you, walking in limiting beliefs. And this is the imposter syndrome that works in conjunction with fear and the inner critic. And they work together to keep you bound, to keep you, consumed by anxiety, gripped by fear. And they want to stop you from achieving success, from doing those things that you can do. And it's important that you begin to identify them and that you acknowledge them. Acknowledge where this thing has been keeping you bound so that you can begin to make changes and conscious decisions to do differently. Because what we don't know and what we are not aware of and what we don't identify, we will consistently fall victim to. And it's time for you to start saying no. No to imposter syndrome, no to fear, and no to your inner critic that have kept you from fulfilling your greatness, from doing what you were destined to do, from living your best life. And I tell you one thing, and this is something that will set you free if you embrace it, because this is one of the biggest lies that imposter syndrome tells people. And we have to be aware of its deadly lies. And that is, don't tell anyone because they will judge you. And the more that you take this to be truth, is the more that you suffer in silence. And secrets is what keep us sick. And so I want to encourage you, start to speak to people who you trust, people who you can trust about this, and you will realize there is so many people that go through this. There is so many people that experience this. You are not alone. The imposter syndrome has spread its web of deception all across the globe. But it's time to be free. It's time to listen to a new record. It's time to turn the page of change in your life, because it's now time to enter into a new chapter in the book of your life. So just to put into perspective, I want you to think about this for a moment, because who is affected by imposter syndrome? Because it might even be telling you while you listen to this, no, he's lying, it's just you, no one else. But let's look at what the data says. It is estimated that at least 70% of people will experience imposter syndrome at least once in their lifetime. 70% of people. So this is something that the majority of people will experience. You are not alone. And I tell you, even if you are an Academy Award winning actor, or if you are the COO of Facebook, or if you are a pop icon that is loved by many, or if you are a poet, social rights activist, or an author of many books, all of these individuals suffered with imposter syndrome. You are not alone. You are not alone. And this is why it's important to recognize the lies and the web of deception that the imposter syndrome will put on you. Because even when you are successful, it will tell you you did it by luck, by fluke, you're a phony. They're going to find out. People are going to realize you're not really any good. And so we have to deal with this imposter syndrome, this inner critic, this fearful thinking. And the key thing is about managing our thoughts. Thoughts create things. By your thoughts, you create a chain reaction of emotions, and those emotions program your body into feeling a certain way. And so when we get back into certain environments, or when we feel a certain way, all of the programming you have done takes root. And so sometimes we can just be triggered by a thought that creates the feeling and emotion, and we then live out and manifest those very feelings in our lives. And so we have to manage our thoughts. We have to focus and have intention with the thoughts that we are thinking. Because the average human being experiences 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and 90% of those are rumination. And so if you are constantly thinking on these negative things and ruminating on them, you are empowering your imposter syndrome. You're making it into a mighty beast. And so it's so important that we begin to take stock of our thoughts. And as I said earlier, the brain can only think on one thing at a time. So if you are focusing on positive things, there is no space for the imposter syndrome to take root in your mind. And there's something that I really want to hit home with, and it is that imposters and non-imposters have similar thoughts, but process them completely differently. You see, we all know, we all know that we don't know it all. Even non-imposters know that we don't know it all, and that there are others who are smarter, wiser, or stronger, and that's fine. It's all about reframing our thoughts. And this is the difference. This is where the separation comes, because for non-imposters, they know, yeah, that guy is wise, or that person's strong, or that person's smart. I'm going to learn from them, or I'm going to pick up some traits from them. The imposter says, I'm a phony. I can't do this. I shouldn't be here. And that's where the real change happens. It's about reframing your thoughts. If there's someone who does something good, then that's great. This is someone I can learn from. It doesn't take anything away from you. Wherever you are and wherever you've gotten to in terms of your success, your business, your personal life, whatever it may be, you got there because of the work you put in. You got there because of your character. You got there because there's something of discipline and character within you. Wherever there's any gaps, it's just things to work on, as everyone else is doing. And just to put this in perspective, even Albert Einstein struggled with this. And he once said, the exaggerated esteem in which my life work is held makes me very ill at ease. I feel compelled to think of myself as involuntary as an involuntary swindler. Basically, he struggled with imposter syndrome. And I'm showing you this to just show you that anyone can experience this. And the imposter syndrome doesn't care how much you have achieved. If you let it in, it will spread its virus and it will consume your mind. So I want to encourage you today, from this day forward, whenever it comes, deal with it, because the mind is the battlefield and you need to slay your enemy from today. And the final thing I want to leave you with is this, is that people often, when they fail, this is the perfect opportunity for the imposter syndrome to come in. And that is what makes people feel that they are an imposter, because they failed at something. And I want to let you know that you are not an imposter if you try something and fail. Everyone fails. In fact, if you are not failing, that means you're not trying anything new. Okay? And so I want to encourage you that failure is the process to success. Because what happens is we fail, learn, try again, fail, learn, try again, fail, learn, succeed. And so it's really important that you keep going and do not allow this fraudster of the imposter syndrome and this liar to keep you bound and to stop you from moving forward. Because fail really means first attempt in learning. And so keep pushing, keep growing, keep trying, and stay in the fight. Do not allow this lying fraudster to stop you from achieving all that you are destined to do. And so, if you like this video, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel and, click the link so that you can receive a notification when new videos are uploaded. And so I hope that you enjoyed this and that you will continue to listen to more of these videos that are going to change your life and empower you.